she done anything wrong?
Come on, say
A girl who had been paralyzed for 12 years died unexpectedly. When she woke up, she found an angelic halo had appeared inside her. The girl was also being pursued by demons from hell. A group of people forced her to join the nuns' battle group. Her companions were all very powerful.
I just want to be normal.
In this episode, we will introduce Netflix's fantasy adaptation Warrior Nun. Without further ado, let's get started. One day, the body of a 19-year-old girl was sent to the church for purification. Meanwhile, a group of mysterious nuns burst into the adjacent room. They placed their injured comrade Shannon onto an operating table. Shannon's organs had all been hit, and no doctor could help. The nun opened Shannon's shirt, and used a circular device to extract the halo from under her skin. Before dying, Shannon leaned close to Sister Mary, and warned her not to trust anyone. The older nun asked who the next halo bearer was. Just as Mary was about to answer that it was Lilith, a group of people burst through the door. The halo fell to the ground amid the chaos. A man tried to pick it up, and he instantly lost 5 fingers from the burn. The nun quickly stepped forward, and picked up the halo. She rushed into the morgue and the situation forced her to place the halo into the body of a 19-year-old girl named Ava. A flood of unfamiliar memories surged into her mind. Ava convulsed and was reborn. She saw a man kill the older nun, followed by a red demon. The halo on Ava inadvertently dispelled it. She stumbled out of the morgue. Ava thought she had arrived in hell. She walked down the street in confusion. Ava encountered a few thugs trying to hit on her. She couldn't help but vomit all over them. Then Ava was hit by a car, and crashed into a clothing store. The intense pain in her leg proved that this wasn't a hallucination. In the next second, her severed leg returned to normal. Ava couldn't understand what was happening, but the benefit of youth is the ability to accept everything. She changed into athletic wear from the store, and stepped onto the street. Meanwhile, the priest came to find the warrior nun. He learned that the angelic halo was on a girl. Human skin and tissue can suppress the unique energy properties of the halo, making it difficult to locate. However, this was the first case of the halo reviving someone. Perhaps Ava wasn't just an ordinary person, but the halo bearer chosen by destiny. Ava grew up in an orphanage, and had nowhere else to go, so Ava returned to the orphanage. The boy Diego was very surprised to see her. After all, the nun had just taken Ava's body away, and she had been paralyzed in all 4 limbs, yet now she could walk normally.
I'm alive. But I'm different. I think I have superpowers. Cool.
Diego had to remind Ava not to let the people at the orphanage find her. These Catholics would see her as a demon. Just as he finished speaking, the priest tracked down the orphanage. Diego saw the nun come in, and hurriedly closed the window. Diego lied that a bird had just crawled in. The priest looked around Ava's former bed.
She seems like a special girl.
She was.
And chuckled knowingly. He probably guessed that Ava had been back. The priest saw a photo of the ocean by the bedside, and realized Ava might be at the beach. For someone who had once been paralyzed, being reborn in a healthy body was such a fortunate thing. Ava vowed to cherish this experience, but she soon realized that she could see things that ordinary people couldn't. Ava instinctively followed a wisp of red smoke. However, her attention was soon diverted to a bar. She had never been to a bar before. Ava got very drunk, and even hit the bartender. She wandered outside until morning. Despite being exhausted, Ava dared not sleep. She feared that if she fell asleep, she would wake up back in the cold reality. Ava wanted to fulfill all her wish list before her abilities faded, so she sneaked into someone else's yard. Ava jumped into a large swimming pool. However, after jumping in, she realized that she couldn't swim. Fortunately, someone jumped in to save Ava, and he was a handsome young man. Ava, who had never interacted with peers of the opposite sex, was flustered.
Now try to focus, Ava. Don't do that thing where you forget to speak. I'm hungry.
The handsome guy JC pulled Ava to the shore, and prepared some food for her. Ava immediately started eating. Then JC's 3 friends appeared: Chanel, Zoli, and Randall. Ava awkwardly asked, "Is this your house?" Zoli told her not to worry about who the owner was.
It's not like you're squatting here or something.
Did Ava really hit the nail on the head with that awkward look? JC no longer hid the truth. They were indeed opportunists. The owner of this seaside villa lived in Saudi Arabia. He only comes to Spain once or twice a year, so they sneak in for a few weeks. cleaning the house before the owner returns. JC didn't believe that hard work could change his fate. He thought that people's ranks were determined from birth. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't live in a house like this. It was better to create a whole new set of rules.
Just keep talking, pretty boy. I don't care what you're talking about, I just see lips I want to kiss.
Since Ava had nowhere to go, she simply joined JC's group. That night, they dressed up and went to party at a nightclub. Ava once again saw that wisp of red smoke. She saw two ordinary people enveloped by the smoke. An evil force surged towards her. Ava was frightened and hurried back. Meanwhile, the priest found surveillance photos that captured her face. He ordered Mary to distribute them to all the parishes. They must keep an eye on Ava's movements. Unexpectedly, that night, a demon broke into the church. It dug into Shannon's back, searching for the angelic halo. After receiving the news, the priest and the nuns quickly rushed to the scene. The red smoke that had appeared earlier was called the phantom demon. They couldn't materialize in our world, so they couldn't sever heads or slice flesh. Thus, the horrific state of Shannon's body could only be caused by a dragon demon. Only they could inflict substantial harm on humans, but high-level demons had not appeared for a century. Now they risked appearing in the church, indicating that the angelic halo was very important. The church must find Ava before the dragon demon does. The nuns immediately went back to search through the documents. They wanted to see historical records about dragon demons. According to the documents, dragon demons could only appear briefly in the mortal realm, because they were bound by hell. Only when the halo bearer united with the divine sword could they eliminate them. If the dragon demon obtained the angelic halo, hell would rise, and angels would fall. This matter alarmed Bishop Duretti. He reminded Father Vincent that Sister Lilith was the rightful heir to the halo. Since the First Crusade, her family had steadfastly supported the church. If Lilith hasn't obtained the halo by tomorrow morning, I'll have to inform the authorities. While they were talking, the dragon demon found the sports store. The clerk was pierced. While everyone was busy searching for the angelic halo, Mary was investigating why Shannon was attacked at the docks. She found a bullet at the crime scene. The craftsmanship and quality of the bullet were exquisite, and only one person could have made it. Mary found the bullet buyer along this line. However, he said he was employed by someone and couldn't disclose his employer's information. Mary tied him to a pillar. She traced along his brachial artery slowly. As long as I apply pressure, you will bleed to death in a few minutes. The buyer had to confess. Meanwhile, on Ava's side, Randall suddenly rang the dinner bell to gather everyone. He discovered that ARC Technologies would be hosting a party that evening. They would be serving gourmet snacks and drinks, so he got some media passes to sneak in. Ava was very excited, because she had read reports about ARC Technologies. They were at the forefront of the biotechnology field. Their newly developed neural interface could help people move objects with their thoughts. At this moment, Ava spotted Bishop Duretti. She quickly hid behind JC. However, the bishop wasn't there for the halo. He was invited by Chris, a senior executive at ARC Technologies. Chris had worked in the church for 30 years, but had turned to scientific research. Chris believed that if one wanted the ladder to heaven, they shouldn't consult a priest, but should contact a carpenter. So he invited Bishop Duretti to witness the true miracles created by science. The female scientist quickly took the stage to introduce the new invention. JC and Ava weren't interested in any of this. They snatched a security badge and opened the back door to let their friends in. Before long, Mary also arrived at ARC Technologies. It seemed that the bullet was connected to the people here. At this moment, the female scientist revealed her research results. She had actually created a quantum teleportation portal. Although it could only last a minute, this invention was enough to shake the world.
Would you care to share where you stand on quantum realms?
I'm sure you are aware that what you call a proprietary alloy is in fact the consecrated property of the church.
It turns out that not long ago, the female doctor dug up a shield. It was a component of the holy object. With the help of the mysterious substance God element, the female doctor achieved this breakthrough.
Dr. Salvius, you are dealing with forces that science in its smugness dismisses out of hand. Forces that you can't hope to comprehend, much less control.
At this moment, Chris spotted a bearded man. He was the leader of the armed men who had burst into the church that day to seize the halo from the nuns. After his failed mission, the bearded man had lost many of his brothers, so he came to ARC Technologies to settle the score. Meanwhile, Ava discovered the sacred shield that the female scientist had unearthed. Moreover, that object reacted to the halo on her. but before they could examine it closely, their companions sent a message saying the party was over. They left just before the scientist appeared. However, the scientist still noticed the anomaly with the shield. She immediately notified Chris that someone had broken in. Find them and detain them. As Ava was evacuating, she saw a strange boy. JC, afraid of being caught, pulled her away, but Ava couldn't just ignore it. She left JC behind and went back to save the boy. Ava triggered the alarm. As soon as she touched the doorknob, the bearded man heard the alarm and scoffed that Arc Technologies deserved it. Unexpectedly, the next second, he was knocked out by Mary. Although JC was worried about Ava, she was soon taken away by her companions. Meanwhile, the dragon demon also arrived at the office building. At the critical moment, the sister warriors arrived. This was thanks to Sister Camila. She had uploaded Ava's photo into the facial recognition system of the National Police. This allowed them to arrive at the scene promptly. However, the dragon demon wasn't easy to deal with. At the crucial moment, it was the halo that played its role, temporarily driving it back. Ava wanted to take advantage of the chaos to escape. She was injected with anesthetic by a nun. When she woke up, she found herself tied to a bed. The halo sensed Ava's emotions and actively helped its master break free.
What the hell is going on?
This is gonna be a long day.
In the end, it was Father Vincent who explained the history of the sister warriors to Ava. The priest pointed to a mural on the wall and introduced it as Elira of Cordoba. She was one of the most renowned warriors known to the world. However, Elira was not born with faith. She came from humble beginnings and became an orphan after her family's land was taken by invaders. She wandered alone for many years until Elira was guided by God to join the church. For the rest of her life, she fought for God. In 1059, Pope Urban II ordered the First Crusade. Elira was wounded in the chaos of battle, but she was not meant to die that day. So God's messenger, Andrew, placed his angelic halo within Elira in order to restore the life of this nun. After experiencing defeat, Elira began to train warriors to share the burden. Their swords had hilts made of silver crosses. The Order of the Crossed Swords was born, and devout women came to be trained to combat ancient evil forces through the halo. Ava immediately realized that the angelic halo was now within her. Father Vincent also introduced the dragon demon and the phantom demon. The dragon demon could only appear briefly due to hell's constraints, while the phantom demon fed on the darkness of human souls. Therefore, it would exert an influence on people, but this influence could only be psychological. It could not cause any physical harm to humans. The angelic halo granted the host the ability to see the unseen, which is why Ava could see these demons. Based on previous cases, the bearer of the halo would be the new halo wielder, who must vow to constrain the evil forces at all costs. When Ava heard at all costs, she wanted to escape, but Father Vincent wouldn't let Ava leave until she learned to control the halo's powers. First, her powers could harm others, and second, the halo would continuously attract the dragon demon. It would definitely be dangerous for her to go out. Ava's vest contained a layer of osmium from the protective room this morning, which could suppress energy. So when she released her energy in the morning, she didn't attract the dragon demon. As Ava faced her new fate of training, Mary brought the bearded man to the edge of a cliff for questioning. From their conversation, it was revealed that the bearded man was ordered to deliver a shipment to Arc Technologies. However, so he had rigged the cargo box with explosives in advance. The bearded man wouldn't joke with his men's lives, so he was unaware of the explosive device beforehand. Given the high delivery fee paid by Arc Technologies, they were very eager for that shipment. They wouldn't have installed a bomb inside. Neither Arc Technologies nor the bearded man were the masterminds behind this. After the cargo box exploded, only Shannon died, which means the person who tampered with the box either lacked skill or had a specific target right from the start. Shannon, the bearded man, had made everything clear. Meanwhile, the people at Arc Technologies were repeatedly watching the surveillance footage, and they couldn't understand what had driven the security away. After all, ordinary people couldn't see the dragon demon, and the cameras had not captured any thermal signatures. The female scientist suspected it must have been Duretti causing trouble. As for those young people, they were just there to mooch food and drinks. However, Chris noticed that the sacred shield reacted to Ava. It was known that this sacred artifact only reacted when in contact with a powerful energy source. Because the Cross-Sword Cult was a top-secret organization, Chris is unaware of the existence of the Halo's existence. He instinctively felt that he must find this girl, At this moment, Bishop Duretti arrived at the church and questioned Vincent about why he hadn't extracted the halo yet.
Removing it may kill her. Is she a believer? Is it not his belief in her that matters most?
Ancient texts have recorded that the halo acts on its own, so Ava might be the one chosen by God. Of course, if she fails her training and can't become a warrior, Father Vincent must extract the halo. In this matter, the dean, along with Lilith, conducted a preliminary assessment of Ava. In addition to granting the ability to see the unseen and enhancing the host's natural abilities, the halo can also rapidly heal wounds, pass through walls, and grant unique abilities based on the different nuns. Ava can levitate, which is her unique ability. Lilith harbored resentment because her halo was stolen, so she deliberately went hard on Ava during the test. However, under the halo's enhancement, Ava surprisingly didn't fall too far behind, which made Lilith even more dissatisfied. The other nuns also held hostility towards Ava because of Shannon's tragic death and the halo falling into the hands of a stranger. Fortunately, there was an Asian nun named Beatrice who explained the situation to Ava. Father Vincent was also very caring towards her. Ava promised to be more patient and try to accept the new life and mission bestowed by God. Unfortunately, there were many people in the convent who disapproved of her. That day, Ava followed Lilith to learn. The crossed sword emitted a glow as she approached, for the halo activated the divine substance within, making the weapon more destructive. Divine substance is an organic metal that very few people know about. Lilith also said that the halo bearer is the only one who can see demons, so she must assist the nun warriors in locating the enemy and coordinating their attacks. Of course, some phantom demons can possess humans, in which case everyone can confirm the demon's location. Most importantly, divine substance can also harm the halo bearer, so Ava isn't invulnerable. At this moment, a dragon's voice suddenly echoed from the armory. In her fright, Ava chose to escape through the wall, but she got stuck halfway because the wall was too thick. Lilith threw a speaker at her feet. It turned out that the dragon's voice was fake. It was just a test from the dean. She disapproved of Ava abandoning her companions to flee. Lilith didn't care that Ava had just arrived 2 days ago and had no trust from the other nuns. The dean had reviewed Ava's file. She had become paralyzed in a car accident and was abandoned by her family. She was about to exceed the age of the orphanage, and once she leaves the orphanage, there is only one dead end. The records showed that Ava died from an overdose of painkillers, so the dean concluded that she had chosen to commit suicide. Catholics don't accept those who commit suicide.
You're a coward. Always looking for the easy way out. Fighting for a cause? That's not you, is it?
Ava weakly insisted that it wasn't suicide. Father Vincent rushed over upon hearing the news and called the dean outside to talk.
We have no time for hand-holding, Father. You know that as well as I do.
You're trying to push her away.
She's not one of us.
The dean would not joke with the lives of the nuns. An unqualified halo bearer could endanger everyone. She had to take responsibility for the lives of those girls. Beatrice noticed that Ava was feeling down and voluntarily stayed by her side. Ava candidly said that it was really not suicide. She had just fallen asleep while watching television. For 12 years, she has no sensation below her chest, so how could she need painkillers? Ava also didn't understand why there were painkillers in her body. What was the use of pursuing this now? After all, no one believed her explanation. Beatrice advised Ava not to take it to heart. The dean treated everyone this way. Everyone secretly called her the Jesus version of Cruella.
Do you believe me?
I think you're thoughtless and self-centered, but dishonest.
Beatrice's parents were politicians and worked as diplomats in England. They were conservative and cared about appearances. Because Beatrice refused to obey, her parents sent her to a Catholic boarding school. This rebellious girl chose to convert. Every nun has her own unspoken struggles. Beatrice hoped Ava would understand this. That night, she moved into Shannon's dormitory, where the girl in the photo still looked so young, yet she had died in a brutal war. Even a brave nun like Elira had died young. This made Ava realize that she couldn't stay here and wait to die. So Ava left a note saying, "I want to live." Ava escaped from the convent that night. She wanted to find JC and his friends and live her limited life to the fullest. As Ava was thinking this, she saw a tense-looking girl passing by. Behind her was a man and a phantom demon floating in the air. Although Ava didn't want to meddle, she chose to chase after them to help. The girl was a fraud. She was just trying to team up with her accomplices to rob. Ava was stabbed.
See what you get for being a hero.
If it weren't for the halo, she would have already died. Soon after, Ava found JC and gathered with them, but Zoli didn't welcome her arrival. It turned out that not long ago, the female scientist had tracked down this gang. She warned them to leave the building, and immediately notified ARC Technologies as soon as she spotted Ava.
We had a good thing going here, JC. You fucked it up by bringing her in. Now you bring her back here? How stupid are you?
Zoli couldn't help but curse at Ava. Ava lost control of her emotions, and nearly destroyed the house. She had to escape the scene. Fortunately, JC chased after her, thinking Zoli's group were just ordinary friends. Instead, he was willing to join Ava in her adventures. As this young couple moved forward together, Father Vincent faced a series of troubles. Due to Ava's sudden departure, Bishop Doretti decided to delay his return to Rome. Because of Vincent's inadequate supervision, he stayed behind to oversee the church's operations. The first thing Bishop Doretti did after taking over was to plan to reclaim the sacred shield from ARC Laboratories. He then privately approached Lilith and tasked her with finding Ava to retrieve the halo. At the same time, Mary lost the trail she was following and lay in pain on Shannon's bed. Mary accidentally caught sight of a piece of torn fabric stuck in the wall bricks. She immediately went to find Father Vincent. Mary speculated that Shannon had known she would be killed, so she hid the clues in the most secretive place. Mary believed there was a hidden room in Shannon's quarters that could only be accessed through wall-passing ability. That was why there were remnants of her clothing left on the stone bricks. If they recklessly blew open that wall to investigate, it would surely draw unnecessary attention and alert the hidden masterminds. So they must find Ava and let her use her wall-penetrating ability to enter the darkroom for exploration. Meanwhile, Ava and JC arrived at the airport, ready to leave Spain, but Ava suddenly remembered Diego, and the fact that she had not committed suicide, but had a large amount of painkillers in her body. Ava suspected that the nuns in the orphanage had been secretly killing children, so she left JC and ran back to save them. Unbeknownst to her, the female scientist's people were secretly watching her. On the other side, the Order of the Crossed Swords mobilized, preparing to launch a night raid on ARC Technologies. However, Beatrice didn't understand the bishop's actions. Why take the risk of exposure by intruding into someone else's private enterprise?
For the protection of our interests? Which interests, Lilith? I noticed you were speaking with the Cardinal, alone.
Lilith changed the subject, saying that the security shift had changed, and we needed to act quickly. Beatrice followed the group forward. Just as they took down the security guard, they heard a voice on the radio say that the target had appeared at St. Michael's orphanage. Lilith remembered the bishop's assigned task and told the others to stay behind while she went to find Ava. Beatrice led the nuns into the building, and they quickly took down the patrolling guards. They found the laboratory that housed the sacred shield. Sister Camilla stepped forward to crack the keypad lock, but the building triggered an invasion alarm. Beatrice told her to lead everyone out first, and she would regroup after retrieving the sacred shield. Camilla and the others quickly left the building, but security surrounded Beatrice. These people were no match for her, and soon many were lying on the ground. The only person left holding a handgun threatened, "If you come any closer, I'll shoot." Beatrice activated a device on her wrist and easily shattered the laboratory glass. Then Beatrice took the sacred shield from the shelf. Meanwhile, Ava found the supervising nun who was about to inject Diego. The nun was startled to see Ava resurrected and hurriedly drew a cross on her chest. However, the nun didn't regret killing Ava.
I'm a savior. I released them from their pain. I released them into the arms of God.
Ava demanded the nun hand over the syringe, but unexpectedly, she launched a surprise attack. Fortunately, Ava was protected by the halo and successfully killed the old nun. Diego urged Ava to run to avoid getting into trouble. Ava hurriedly escaped from the orphanage. She saw Lilith guarding the door, with several henchmen sent by the female scientist lying around.
I told you, I'm not going back.
I only need part of you.
Ava had no training, so she was no match for Lilith. Fortunately, Mary appeared just in time. Ava seized the opportunity to escape while the two were fighting. She quickly regrouped with JC to prepare to leave by boat, and JC had prepared a perfect plan. This ship would head to Morocco, stopping at a port in Portugal. Then we would hide on the ferry and quietly return, followed by a trip to Lisbon. This way, we could shake off those who were following you. Soon after, two nuns caught up, but Ava's boat had already set sail. On the other side, ARC Technologies officially declared war on the Vatican. The female scientist held a press conference. She first publicly disclosed her unfinished invention. The female scientist claimed to open the door to the afterlife through science. However, the Vatican had stolen her experimental materials. The divine substance, this extraordinary conductive metal, had long been claimed by the Vatican. The female scientist publicly released a video of the laboratory being attacked. After Duretti learned of the situation, he called a meeting. He demanded that the nuns send the Shield of Faith to the Vatican for safekeeping, so it couldn't fall into ARC Technologies' hands. Otherwise, the door created by the female scientist would surely open a passage to hell, putting the entire world in danger. On Ava's side, she knew she owed JC an explanation. Ava could only say that she had taken something that didn't belong to her, which was why she was being pursued. Ava feared that JC would continue to ask questions, so she had to move him with her tragic backstory. When she was 7, she came to Spain for vacation, and her mother died in a car accident. The rescue center couldn't reach Ava's family, and had to send her to an orphanage. JC stopped asking further questions upon hearing this. Meanwhile, Mary and Lilith didn't give up. They took a speedboat and a helicopter, arriving at the dock first. The two used to have a good relationship, but Lilith bore a family mission, as her lineage had always been halo bearers. At that time, Shannon had suddenly appeared and taken her place, causing Lilith to distance herself from Shannon and Mary. Now, as they revisited old grievances, they engaged in a fierce fight at the dock. Lilith was knocked into the sea. Not long after, Ava's boat arrived at the port. JC led her into the restroom, planning to follow the boat back to shake off their pursuers. Unbeknownst to them, Mary was guarding the lobby, and didn't see the two come out. She guessed they planned to return, so Mary boarded the ship to continue looking for them. Lilith suddenly appeared to launch a surprise attack. The two fought into the restroom. And Mary tried to negotiate with Lilith. They aimed to work together to throw Ava off the boat first. Lilith wanted to teach her a lesson first. Mary had to lock Lilith in the restroom. Then she found Ava near the bar. Mary gave Ava time to say goodbye to JC, stating frankly that if she didn't leave with her, Lilith would be right behind them. I can help you. But Ava didn't thank Mary for her kindness. She went back to wake JC, and urged him to run quickly. Mary chased after Lilith. Ava was soon cornered. JC grew tired of her not explaining anything, and was about to press Ava on what she had done. The next second, JC was knocked out by Lilith. Ava, unable to contain her anger, punched Lilith, but Lilith quickly pinned her to the ground. She drew a dagger, and prepared to extract the halo. In a critical moment, Mary knocked Lilith aside. Ava grabbed JC and attempted to run, but the dragon followed the halo's trail. Lilith and Mary prepared to face the dragon, but the dragon had only one target, Ava. Lilith charged forward with her sword, but was pierced through by the dragon. Ava picked up the sacred sword, and stabbed at the dragon. Lilith was swept into hell. In her panic, she escaped through the wall. On the other side, Father Vincent disagreed with Bishop Duretti's approach. Continuing to oppose ARC Technologies would only distract the church's focus. They should concentrate on dealing with demons. So Vincent secretly approached the female scientist, expressing his willingness to reveal how to obtain the Shield of Faith. But the female scientist had to stop opposing the church, and couldn't continue pursuing Ava. The two temporarily reached an agreement. The female scientist successfully obtained the Shield of Faith through the information provided by Vincent. However, she didn't give up searching for Ava. The more Vincent cared about that girl, the more the female scientist guessed at her importance. After arranging everything, she arrived at the sterile room. It turned out that the boy Ava encountered that day was the female scientist's son. At the same time, Mary found Eva, who had escaped, but she didn't intend to continue following her, and enduring her constant escape, Mary dragged her injured leg away. This time, Ava caught up. She couldn't leave the injured Mary behind, but that didn't mean she would accept her fate.
I just want to be normal.
No ordinary person could fall from such a height and survive. Mary's style of action was unlike that of a nun. When she was 8, her mother killed her abusive husband, and was sentenced to life in prison. Her mother had acted in self-defense. Mary, as a witness, repeatedly explained the events, but the prosecutor saw her as just a child, and a black woman shooting her husband was enough to incite anger from the white jurors. After the incident, Mary kept changing foster homes, until she was finally sent to a Catholic boarding school. She often got punished for fighting, until Father Vincent appeared, giving Mary a goal to strive for in a home.
Family. You and Lilith hated each other.
Well, she was my sister. Of course I hate her.
However, Mary didn't convert to Catholicism. She was considered an outside member. Mary only needed to follow the rules set by Vincent. Regardless, she was still an injured person, so Ava decided to take her back first. The two passed through a beautiful little town, where everyone knew Mary. They warmly approached to greet her. It turned out that this place had experienced a demon outbreak, and the Order of the Crossed Swords had stayed here for a while. At that time, the town was in chaos, and many residents were possessed by the phantom demon. They didn't know who to trust, so they had to kill each other. Mary borrowed the restaurant's phone to report Lilith's situation to Father Vincent. From him, she learned that the Pope was in critical condition. Mary had a suspicion. She had always felt that Shannon's death was connected to someone within the Vatican. If the Pope was in critical condition, then everything made sense. Bishop Duretti definitely wanted to consolidate power and seize an opportunity for advancement, so he wanted to recruit a loyal nun warrior. But Shannon wasn't someone who would easily pick a side. Perhaps Duretti is connected to her death. Father Vincent will send someone to pick up Mary tomorrow. She hadn't revealed that she had found Ava, so the others could leave at any time. But Mary also warned Ava, "You have entered the eye of the storm." In addition to the Vatican and the dragon, the female scientist from Arc Technologies is also after you. Accepting the gifts of fate comes with a price. In the evening, the two stayed overnight at a local church. The priest here had once been possessed by a demon, and it took him a long time to regain his faith. The experiences on this journey left Ava feeling conflicted. She couldn't sleep and went to talk to God. Ava didn't believe she was the chosen one, but everything happening now forced her to believe. The next day, Ava woke up in the church and found everyone gathered to watch the sunrise. After the disaster, everyone cherished their current lives. After watching the sunrise, they gathered at a restaurant for a meal. Mary was in the kitchen helping the owner cook. Ava was curious why she was cooking. Mary laughed and said, "I have my own life. I don't spend every day exorcising demons and praying."
When you have value, you have control. Yes, I know my worth and I refuse to let anyone tell me how to use it.
Mary's meaning was clear. She wasn't controlled by the Order of the Crossed Swords, but was doing what she wanted to do. Ava took a plate to serve a customer, and noticed a man possessed by a phantom demon. He was casually chatting with everyone as if nothing was wrong. Mary noticed Ava's unusual behavior, and guessed that a demon was present. Mary prepared to follow and deal with it, but Ava insisted on acting together. The two followed each other into the deli, and then dispersed the bystanders. The demon immediately revealed its true form, and knocked Mary into a cabinet. Ava didn't have time to think and chased after it. While Mary leaned at the door directing her, they had to inflict some damage on the host to force the demon out. Ava grabbed a rib and smashed it against the man. Since the residents were gathered outside, Mary had to pretend to pray and chant spells. After all, pure physical exorcism would be hard for everyone to accept. At this moment, Ava successfully forced out the demon, and eliminated it with the divine substance dagger. She completed her first exorcism on her own. However, this incident caused panic in the town. The vehicle to pick up Mary had already arrived, and since Ava didn't want to go back, Mary advised her to stay in town for another night, to reassure the locals. Then she handed the divine substance knife to Ava before leaving.
She coming?
No. But she will.
After Mary returned, the church held a funeral for Lilith. A nun was dragged into hell by a demon, which sounded quite horrifying, but Bishop Duretti thought it wasn't chaotic enough. He suddenly called in the rejected Sister Crimson. She had previously been trained under the headmaster, but lacked discipline due to being competitive and aggressive. In the end, she was rejected by the dean, but now Duretti had brought Crimson back. Clearly, he wanted to place someone among the nuns. In fact, he had previously tried to recruit Beatrice, but his attempts had failed multiple times. To eliminate obstacles, Bishop Duretti instructed the headmaster to transfer Beatrice to a convent in Malaysia. Vincent was also transferred to Florida, where the Order of the Crossed Swords had no chapters. Bishop Duretti's ambitions were becoming clear. Mary didn't believe the headmaster couldn't see through it.
I serve the church.
Duretti isn't the church. He's a man. One who puts himself before anyone, including God.
Meanwhile, Ava did come back, but she didn't go to the church immediately. Instead, she sought out the female scientist. Ava wanted to understand her abilities, and the reasons behind them. If science couldn't explain it, then she would willingly accept her fate. After testing, the female scientist discovered that the halo was indeed a source of energy, but it didn't follow traditional physical laws, and existed outside the physical world. The female scientist connected the halo to a quantum portal, under the pretext of collecting data. In pursuit of her goals, she disregarded Ava's safety, and deliberately enhanced the conductivity to amplify the energy. Ava couldn't help but rip off the device, and discovered it was connected to an underground quantum portal. Seeing she couldn't hide it any longer, the female scientist took Ava to meet her son Mike. As the boy approached the halo, a blue light emitted from beneath his skin. The female scientist explained that it was divine substance particles, which allowed Mike's life to continue. She invented the quantum portal to build a bridge that would allow Mike to go to the place where he could continue to survive.
There is something out there. It's right here, next to us, existing on a parallel plane, where we can be together.
But the female scientist couldn't keep the energy field stable. It couldn't keep the door open continuously. She had thought the halo was powerful enough to open the door to eternal life, but now hope was dashed once again. Meanwhile, at the church, Mary couldn't wait any longer because Ava didn't show up. She wanted to blow up the wall of Shannon's room. Beatrice suddenly mentioned that there was a door behind the cellar, which they might be able to crawl through. As for anything else, Beatrice could do nothing. She still had to follow orders to go to Malaysia. The bus to the airport was about to arrive. Could Beatrice really leave the Order of the Crossed Swords and leave Spain behind? On the other side, Ava returned near the church, and as soon as she arrived, Mary pulled her aside. This was because the bishop had already ordered that the halo must be recovered by any means necessary. The two entered the church through the cellar door, and Mary led Ava to the wall. Ava passed through the wall, revealing a secret chamber inside. On the table lay a thick book. Ava took the book and left the chamber, only to find Mary already engaged in a fight with Crimson. In a critical moment, Beatrice appeared. She ultimately chose to defy the bishop's orders, to protect the Order of the Crossed Swords and her comrades. Crimson was no match for Beatrice, so he picked up a weapon to attempt a surprise attack. Ava quickly knocked him away. The halo's power saved their lives. However, Ava was knocked down and couldn't move, so the two hurriedly carried her out. They were surrounded by nuns, and before Ava could finish speaking, she was shot.
I really hope I got God's message right.
Camila covered the three as they met Vincent at the door, and they drove away from the church. Mary flipped through the book, and saw that Shannon had written, "In the center of the Vatican lies a power that can bind demons to our world." But the church kept this secret for their own gain. I shouldn't have told him. He wanted to use this power to satisfy his own desires. Was this he referring to Duretti? At this moment, news came from the Vatican that the Pope had died. The church was about to face a tremendous upheaval. An unexpected person appeared. Lilith had returned once again. The nuns were unaware that their companion had been resurrected. They were studying the book left by Shannon. This was actually a diary of the bearers of the halo throughout the ages, documenting the story of the angel Andrew's passing in Latin. After he handed the halo to Aurela, he had to experience aging, illness, and death like a mortal. Andrew's remains were placed in the city of ancient dead, in an honor tomb at the center of the Grand Cemetery. For decades, people felt the power emanating from Andrew's tomb, making it a place of pilgrimage. It was said that some brought dying patients there, and they were quickly healed. The power from the tomb could be used for good or evil. The nuns quickly realized that this power exceeded what ordinary people could handle, so they permanently sealed the stone tomb containing the remains with a massive stone. The door bore the inscription, "Don't disturb the dead," to deter grave robbers. As time passed, the tomb was forgotten until a new city rose here, Vatican City. The supernatural power that Shannon feared was the angel's remains. It could bind demons to the human world, and the church knew this, but deliberately concealed it, because only darkness exists in the world. People will rely on the church. If Duretti became pope, he could command the halo bearers to enter the tomb, and claim that power for himself. According to the book, the one who holds the angel's remains will become the king of demons, and can command their actions. Mary believed they had to remove the angel's remains before Duretti, but the tomb's walls were 6 meters thick, and its layout was like a maze. The Order of the Crossed Swords would need Chris's help, and Arc Technology's protection, to allow Ava to train intensively.
What's in it for us?
If the bones are as powerful as the journal says,
Then maybe you can use it to power your machine.
The two sides quickly reached an agreement. Chris accessed the Vatican's digital archives and mapped part of the underground tombs of Vatican City. However, the researchers could only decipher 37%, which didn't include Andrew's tomb. Chris mentioned that after the Vatican was established, the Medici family sent someone to draw a map of the cemetery. However, that map was borrowed decades ago and then went missing. You might try looking for it on the black market. Vincent thought of an old acquaintance who had an excellent memory for stolen goods that had changed hands. Vincent removed the Roman collar that represented his priestly identity and revealed a tattoo on his arm. It turned out that he had been involved in the underworld before he vowed to serve God. The black market dealer was very afraid of Vincent, and he wrote down the location of the map. It had changed hands several times and was now in the possession of a private collector. They quickly broke into the collector's mansion, armed and demanding the map. Mary took pictures of it and sent them to Chris for verification. After confirming the authenticity of the map, the two put away their weapons and retreated. Vincent finally confessed his past. He helped drug trafficking groups transport drugs when he was young, and he was skilled, fast, and tight-lipped. He was quickly promoted to the top assassin, with rewards that were intoxicating. Vincent enjoyed that lifestyle, but he knew he couldn't continue, which is why he joined the church. At the same time, Ava was undergoing training. When the wall reached a certain thickness, she would briefly lose her sense of direction. Ava felt her space being compressed. Hearing this, the female scientist installed a GPS tracker on Ava. Then Beatrice directed Ava through the earpiece to find the correct direction. However, the female scientist also detected that Ava was consuming a large amount of halo energy. If she exhausted it during the wall passing process, she would be trapped and die within the wall. Fortunately, the female scientist had previously succeeded in increasing the halo's output. However, Ava would experience pain similar to electric shocks. Just as the group was arguing, Lilith suddenly burst through the door. She had lost her memory after being dragged into hell. Lilith woke up to find herself at the church door. She looked around but didn't see any familiar faces. Lilith arrived at Arc Technologies. She also has a wound on her abdomen caused by a demon dragon, which often brings severe pain. Camila watched over Lilith as she fell asleep. She handed the Halo Bearer's diary to Beatrice, saying she found an interesting story inside. The author was a nun warrior named Melanie. In the summer of 1942, she escaped the hellish Dachau concentration camp and became a nun warrior. You might have questions after reading this. Wasn't the Dachau concentration camp used to imprison Jews? How could Melanie possibly become a nun? In fact, at that time, those who were persecuted were all seen as anomalies by the Nazis, not just Jews. Melanie was also punished for her sexual orientation. Later, she returned to occupied France. The headmaster urged Melanie to let go of her hatred, but that night, she passed by a tavern. Melanie was harassed by several Nazi officers. They saw the concentration camp number on Melanie's arm. They mocked each other as being Jews. Melanie replied, "I am a lesbian." Then she drew her holy sword and struck down the officers.
But Mother Superior was right. Each slice was an act of hate.
A Nazi lieutenant pointed a gun at Melanie. He threatened to take her back to the concentration camp. An indescribable emotion took over Melanie. The halo behind her glowed brightly. It melted the bullets and the lieutenant's flesh. Melanie collapsed amidst the ruins. She felt an immense sense of relief in her heart. Beatrice unexpectedly shed tears after reading it. Ava really couldn't understand what was so moving about this.
As usual, you've managed to miss the entire point. Sister Melanie tapped into something elemental in her soul, and it amplified the halo's energy. If you want to pass through 20 feet of stone, you need to break through your own personal pain.
Beatrice was moved because Melanie accepted her true self that others denied, and thus broke free from captivity, unleashing the power of the Holy Ring. Throughout her life, she had been following various teachings, gradually becoming a person detached from her essence. Beatrice composed herself and continued to help Ava train. This time, she had to face her inner fears.
If I train the halo, I go back to being paralyzed.
That's what you're afraid of.
What scares me is being alone.
Beatrice reassured Ava, saying, "Now you are a member of the Holy Cross Order. You will never be alone." Her words gave Ava confidence. When Vincent and the others returned, Chris had already found Andrea's tomb. While Ava was resting, she dreamed of Shannon. Shannon looked very distressed. She also said that the Holy Ring was a heavy burden. Although it helped Shannon gain strength and find a new home, it takes away those around us. Too many nuns have died because of their missions. This diary of the Holy Ring is the best proof that every girl recorded on it died tragically. Ava woke up from the dream. She wanted to see if she could use the holy ring to destroy the divine essence. If she could, she would be able to destroy Andrea's remains, completely banishing the demons from the world, ending the cycle of death for the nuns.
I'm going to be the last warrior nun.
The next day, the group approached the Vatican Church. Ava passed through the wall and opened the back door. She led Father Vincent and others inside. Beatrice disabled the surveillance around them. Chris had mentioned that there would be Swiss Guard soldiers ahead. Their actions needed to be quick and discreet. Camilla infiltrated the monitoring room to confirm the action route and set the surveillance footage to loop. This ensured that Ava's movements wouldn't be exposed. Without further delay, the group acted immediately. Mary went to the basilica, while Beatrice and Ava went down to the 2 lower chambers. Vincent was responsible for covering their actions. At this time, the voting for the new pope was taking place in the basilica. Ava and the others were moving through the stone caves below. Duretti's ring sensed something, and he notified Crimson to stop the intruders. Meanwhile, the dean passed by on the street. It was quite a busy day. Just as Ava and the others approached the underground tomb, Crimson came chasing after them. Beatrice and Vincent held them off, allowing Ava to conserve the holy ring's energy to complete the task. However, the situation was dire with many enemies and few allies. In a critical moment, the dean came to help. She and Beatrice teamed up to take down Crimson. The dean took Ava to hide in the back. As the two acted, Ava noticed a circular scar on the dean's back. This indicated that she had once been a wielder of the holy ring.
Hale rejected me. Not all candidates are worthy.
As soon as the words fell, the bell rang. Beatrice came over to gather everyone. She and Ava blew open the passage. The two entered the 3rd underground level and arrived at the thick wall. At the same time, the female doctor also noticed something unusual about Lilith. She had long been possessed by a hellish entity. Lilith returned to the human realm to stop Ava. Lilith flashed into the Holy See. The dean was somewhat surprised to see her. After all, just a few days ago, everyone had held a funeral for Lilith. Crimson suddenly appeared to launch a sneak attack. In the next moment, he was killed by Lilith. The dean and Vincent stood still, allowing Lilith to pass by without interference. At this moment, Beatrice was still measuring the wall to ensure Ava's entry point into the tomb wouldn't be off. Lilith charged at them suddenly. Fortunately, Mary appeared just in time. She urged Ava not to worry about the situation here and to complete the plan as quickly as possible. But Lilith kept interfering with their actions. Mary restrained her, and at the critical moment, brought her back to her senses. Ava watched her comrades working together take a deep breath and pierce through the wall. To her surprise, she actually found a demon dragon skeleton made of divine essence in the wall. This meant that the demon dragon was the original source of divine essence. This demon must have perished while attempting to seize the remains. Just then, Ava realized she had lost contact with Beatrice. Fortunately, she still managed to reach the back of the wall, but there were no remains here at all. But instead, Andrea was standing there. He had been here for 1,000 years.
Why am I here? I am here because Seriala tricked me.
According to Andrea, the Holy Ring had been stolen. Pope Urban II used Arila as bait, plotting to claim the power of the Holy Ring for himself. However, to achieve this goal, they had to eliminate Andrea, but they quickly discovered that they couldn't kill Andrea in the mortal realm, so they could only create this prison to keep him trapped here forever. Ava couldn't understand this. Isn't the church able to use immortal angels to prove the existence of God? Why would they instead hide Andrea away?
These people, faith is based upon that which cannot be proven. Without faith, there is no manipulation.
At this time, Duretti had been elected pope. Ava and Andrea shared the same goal, which was to resist the church, to prevent any more innocent girls from being exploited and discarded by those in power. As long as Ava returned the Holy Ring to Andrea, there would be no more nun warriors dying. She was already prepared to make sacrifices.
I won't leave you here, my child. Not the way they left me.
Ava seemed to enter Arila's body, fighting bravely but was struck down by the enemy. In a critical moment, Andrea appeared with the Holy Ring. However, he held the Holy Ring in his hand, rather than having it above his head like an angel. Andrea eliminated the demon dragon from hell, and assured the holy warriors that he would revive Arila. But he had one request.
You to fight with me. Fight who? The devils.
After Andrea received the assurance, he placed the holy ring inside Arela. Andrea also melted down the bones of the demon dragon. He forged a holy cross sword, but Arela instinctively sensed that this man was very dangerous. In the next moment, Ava woke up from the illusion. She realized that Andrea wasn't an angel at all, but a demon who had stolen the holy ring from another realm. He had been fleeing from the pursuit of the demon dragon. Andrea stopped pretending. He wanted to extract the holy ring from Ava. The moment he made his move, the quantum portal responded. The boy Mike seemed to be summoned, and he walked into the portal involuntarily, disappearing. At this point, Beatrice and the others could no longer wait. They blew open the wall to rescue Ava. Beatrice found Ava among the rubble. She dragged her away, not having time to care about Andrea trapped under the boulder. On the other side, the dean wanted to expose Duretti's facade, but this old man knew nothing about the remains. He had never plotted to harm Shannon either. He only wanted to attain the papacy. Shannon had warned Mary not to trust anyone. The implication of this was that the closer someone was, the more cautious one should be. How could it possibly be the suddenly appearing Duretti? At this moment, Father Vincent walked over to Andrea.
My master, you cannot be revealed to the world this way.
It turned out that Vincent was the demon's servant, a mole hidden within the church. Just then, Lilith approached Andrea and easily dodged his attack.
What are you?
Doesn't matter, but I know what you really are. Nothing but a thief.
The nuns rushed forward to confront Andrea, but this guy couldn't be killed at all. Countless shadow demons gathered around. The surrounding residents were all under control. The Holy Cross Order was about to face its first major test. This season's story ends here. The visual style, costume, props, and music design are all very exquisite. The plot also involves satire on religious faith. Most importantly, the female lead is very real. A girl who has been paralyzed for 12 years finally gets a chance to be reborn and healthy, only to become a nun immediately. She dedicates her life to protecting the world. It's difficult for normal people to do it. The weaknesses Ava displays are just reactions that a normal person would have. However, she certainly possesses the courage and wisdom to fight. She can be seen as a more responsible savior character.